Ty, my friend, how are you?
Chase, I'm great, man. It's great to be here. Thank you, man.
I'm so pumped to have you. Do you mind sharing before we dive in a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I'm Ty at the Ty Frankel on Twitter, and I owned a company back in the day called Shutdown Media, where we did like a lot of music for like TV, movies, commercials, things like that. I did a joint venture label with Universal Music called Frontrunners. That was cool. Red Bull was one of our biggest clients. Warner, BMG, Sony, all the big record labels. Had 8 employees, and then I disbanded my agency in November of last year, so like almost 5 months ago now. And I started going super hard on Twitter. I started a new agency called Shutdown Emails, like B2B outbound marketing. And yeah, everything's been going great. I'm 23. I live in Miami. I like playing basketball. Like,
Amazing,
you
dude.
know,
I
yeah,
mean, I'm
yeah.
I'm fired up. Watching your growth on Twitter has been crazy. I love the energy. And I just tweeted this out. I have no idea what we're about to talk about today, but I know you wanted to talk about, agency or sales or hiring. So I'm going to give it over to you and I'll let you run the show. And thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Chase. So absolutely. So today let's talk about. I think a lot of people have trouble hiring, um, especially like a VA, their first or second hire. It's not easy. It's not just something you can just do without having any prior experience or doing any research and be successful at it. You're gonna fuck up, and you're gonna. Hopefully, I could say that, and hire someone that's not the right fit 90+% of the time. So hopefully, watch this, and you'll be able to hire someone with great accuracy at least 80+% of the time. It's never perfect, but you can get close. So your first hire, right? Your most important hire, I would look to hire an admin assistant, someone that comes in and does a lot of like data entry stuff. They help you out here and there, maybe some personal assistant, executive assistant type stuff as well. Keep everything organized, things like that. Even onboarding clients, executing processes. So before you bring someone in, you want to have your company, your agency very systemized, right? So when they come in, you have their whole schedule filled up. It's like, okay, Monday, here's this, Tuesday is this, Wednesday is this, whatever. They have maybe, let's say they work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. They have maybe 5 to 7 hours a day filled up with stuff. And then the other 1 to 3 hours can be more spontaneous tasks that come in here and there. So you want to have the role filled out in terms of like tasks that they'll be doing. You want to have it systemized, and then you create your job outline. Pretty simple. You say, hi, for example, I would say, hi, I'm Ty, I own Shutdown Emails. We do this, this, and this. Try to make your some company seem like, look like it's in a good light, like there are exciting things going on. You're always growing. And then basically in the description, you want to use words like, and in the task they'll be doing, use words like lead this or manage this or create that. Make it seem like they have a lot of responsibility in the role. Not you can say here and there like, oh, you need to be good with Excel, you need to be this and that. But if you want to attract like a high level performer, which is what I would recommend, someone you pay like 8, 10, $12 an hour, not $3 an hour, then you need to make it seem like they have at least a good amount of responsibility with the role. So you basically create the job description. And then what I would recommend is going on onlinejobs.ph. So onlinejobs.ph. And it's like the one of the main sites where really great Filipino virtual assistants go on and try to look for jobs. And I've had a lot of success from there. So hop on there, get a pro subscription for $69 a month, cancel it right away. So now you have 30 days to find a VA, post your job, make sure the ID proof, there's a thing called ID proof where it kind of like gauges the quality of the candidate. Make sure that they need to be above 70 to apply and shoot it out. And on the job description, actually, you want to write a couple of different things. You want to say, hey, use this code word. So you can put like pumpkin spice or whatever, like cheesecake. So they'll put the code word in their application. And then also to title the subject of their application a certain way. So it's like, you'll be able to just go through the applications quick. And if they don't match exactly what you said, you don't even look at it. And it saves you a ton of time because you're going to be going through 300 applications to interview 3 or 4 people to eventually hire one person, right? So you want to cut down the amount of time you spend as much as possible, right? So you put like, what I do is like, hey, put the subject of your application as your first name, X, your last name. And I've had some people put like your first name, like literally quote your first name, X, and obviously those people I don't hire. Or if they put like application for VA or something like that, I just like skip it right away, save you some time. And basically find, 10, 15, 20 people on there. What you want to do next is you want to give them tests right through email. So what I do is, for a simple VA role, I do a internet speed test. They always pass it, but just making sure they're in the Philippines. And then a typing speed test. Typing is super underrated. It dictates everything you do online. So I typically look for people that have at least 50 words per minute. I type at 90. I know people that type at 150. It's like next level insane, but at least 50 I think is good to expect. And then you want to give them a test that kind of mirrors exactly what they're going to do on the job. So you're going to know if they're good or bad at that thing. So if they're going to be doing a lot of data entry, give them a data entry test. If they're going to be like handling your emails, give them 5 email scenarios and let them respond to those 5 email scenarios, see how they respond to it, right? So you want to get very accurate tests that mirror exactly what they're going to be doing on the job. Because if they don't, then you're kind of guessing, okay, they did these tests, they're good at these tests, but are they going to be able to do the tasks that I give them? But if they already do the tests and they basically the same exact thing, you're not going to be guessing at that point. You know that they're going to be good at the job or not. Give them the test, look for communication, give them clear instructions. If they miss one thing, like if they don't capitalize something, or if they, send you something late, or if you say send it by WeTransfer and they send it to you by Google Drive, if they do one thing wrong, I just throw them out right away personally. Because if they do one thing wrong in this process where it's like they're trying to get a job, what are they going to do when they come into your company? They don't know how to follow directions, right? So I get rid of them. I end up interviewing 3 or 4, and then I end up hiring 1. Yeah, and that's basically how it works. That's how I hire a VA. Online jobs is the best place for Filipino VA. It's what I found to be most successful. I've tried a couple other ones like Upwork, Freelancer, but online jobs is just incredibly consistent. You could also seek people out and message them. So you could look at their profiles. They have all these tests they took. They rate themselves in terms of skill level, things like that. Or on online jobs PH, there's a good amount you could find on the candidate in terms of their background. So amazing. Yeah, have you hired a VHS? I mean, I would assume so. Quite a few, maybe.
Yeah, not necessarily like a traditional VA in the sense that you're talking about, but we do have a team in the Philippines for our email agency. So we've got a team, I think, of about 6 people that actually custom code our emails there in the Philippines. And I think we have a couple of junior designers there. So we probably have like 10 people out of like the 50 or 60 people at the company that are in the Philippines, give or take. Most of the people here in the States, we've got some people in Canada and Mexico, and then Philippines. We got like a few people in India. I do have a couple of questions, and I appreciate you sharing that. In terms of like time zones, do they work on your time zone? Do they work on their own native time zone? Like, how do you line up scheduling, or do you not?
Man, that's a great question, and it's something that I haven't had too much trouble with. So I had a team of 8 with Shutdown Media. Now we're 6 or 7. I shut down emails, and I have people from all over. So I'm in Miami. Some people are in the Philippines. Sometimes they're in Europe. What I do is you have to work 2/3 of the hours from 9 a.m. or from 8 a.m. Eastern to like 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you work, you say 40 hours a week, you work at like 25 hours at least between those times.
Yes.
And you do, you're able to communicate with the team, right? The whole team is working during that time. Maybe sometimes you're all working together at once. Maybe most of the team is working together at a certain, time of the day. And that way it's not like you're sending someone a message one day and then they're logging on the next day, they're sending you a message back. And then the next day you're sending a message. Like, you guys can communicate and get shit done. Right. But I don't see a reason why they need to work American hours the whole time. I don't see a reason. They could do work that doesn't require group communication. They could do that like 3 a.m. American time or whatever, when it's their daytime.
Nice. I love that. In terms of like the sample task or the project, kind of what you were referencing, is it a given that these people are kind of doing that in terms of like their application process? Is that something that you pay these people for? Like, how does that work? Like, are they under the expectation that they have to do this to get an interview? Are you paying the people that are doing this? What does that look like?
I'm not paying them because it's typically under 45 minutes under total for like this entry level role. For more complex roles, like yes, I will pay them to do the test. They might be a couple hours long, right? But for something entry level, it's relatively easy to judge how good a candidate is, and a lot of it is just reading between the lines. A lot of it is like how responsive are they to you, you know, going back and forth and testing them and setting up this interview. Do they do everything correctly in the instructions, things like that, and in the interview, of course. But no, I don't pay them for this, and it's under the impression that they have to do these tests, and then if they go well and if the test results are really great, then we move on to the interview stage.
Nice. And is the interview, is it just with you? Is it you and your team on the same interview? Do you do, you know, you first or someone else first? And then like, is there a screener? Like, is it a one interview? Like, what does the actual process look like? How many number of interviews do you do before you make a decision on this candidate versus that candidate?
Lately, what I've liked to do is I like to get on like a 10-minute call with them before. So like I give them a test, they do them. If they're really good, I get on a 10-minute call and I kind of ask them about their background, whatever, why do they want this job? You know, their background and their career, kind of get their energy and their vibe. And if it makes sense to keep talking, then we do the interview. Because a lot of the times before I enacted this system, right, where I did call them before, we used to get on interviews and it's like, fuck, right away, I know this person's not going to be a good fit. And it's like, now I have a whole interview scheduled. So I'm going to try to be nice. I'll make it like 15, 20 minutes, whatever. I'll ask them some questions. It's tough to say when they come in and it's like within a minute, hey, it's not the right fit, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, I'll ask them a couple questions, but to not have that situation pop up, I do call them. And if I call them and I could already tell within a couple minutes that the situation isn't right, I could just end that call right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just me as well. And it's just me doing the interviews right now, but that's going to change as we get bigger.
Cool. Makes sense. The last question I have is like, when you're vetting these people, obviously, right, like they have to understand English and a lot of them do, and they have to follow directions and whatnot. But after they pass like these initial tests and like maybe this interview, like how important to you is prior experience? Like, are you looking for people that have done the same job 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? Or is it more about just the vibe, the energy, and like the willingness to learn? Like, how do you think about those?
I think for more specific roles, that's important. And I think if you are paying 8, 10, 12, $15 an hour for like entry level positions from the Philippines, you could look for that. But if you're paying $5, $6, $7 an hour, you can't really be too picky.
Yeah.
You can be picky up to a certain point, but you're most likely not going to get someone with like tons of, you know, that's overqualified for the job or whatever. But if I'm hiring a specific role, like for SDR or for CMO or whatever, then yeah, I try to find someone who has lots of experience. And what I try to do is I try to give them a 20 to 30% career, like a career move that's 20 to 30% better than what they're currently at or what they had. Like I try to give them a 20, 30% pay bump and 20, 30% more responsibility.
Nice. And I lied. This is the last question. I've noticed like with all the people that we have, right? So we've got 50 to 60 people. In every country, there's kind of different nuances and expectation around pay and communication and bonuses. So for example, in the Philippines, one of the things that my partner shared is for the end of the year, like they expect actually like a decent to a, you know, good bonus. And that's where like they make a lot of their money. And that's how they plan like their Christmas and their holidays is around like an end of the year bonus. That's typically, I think, about the same of like 1 or 2 months pay. I'd have to get like the exact, you know, details, but one of my partners that was taking care of the bonuses last year said, hey, for the Philippines, we're going to do this because this is what they've expected from us working with them for 2 or 3 years. Are there any other like interesting nuances that like you've noticed about the Filipinos, whether they want to be communicated with in a certain way, or, you know, you have to pay them this much and they expect these type of things? Like, is there anything you could share on that front?
Yeah. One thing I would say is Filipinos have a lot of holidays. It's like every day is a holiday in the Philippines, it feels like. So just, you know, when someone new comes in, kind of gauge maybe how religious they are, kind of get on the same page. What I would do is I would go through the year and be like, hey, what days do you want to take off? And let's get that figured out now. So it's not like you're springing something on me with a day left and we're in the middle of a project or we're hitting a deadline and now you're gone. and now it's like going to fuck up the whole thing. So I would get that established right away. Another thing that I've realized is like, I'm working with Filipinos, they in general are a lot more prone to like their mental state gets affected by criticism. So you don't want to criticize them over text, right? You like the best thing is to meet them in person, obviously, and do it. But the next best thing is to just turn both your webcams on and to talk. If you can't do that, then by phone, sure, you can give them a call. Voice calls also fine. But if you criticize them by text, like Slack, email, whatever, it's like very negative and their mood is going to go way down. And it's like they're going to harbor a form of resentment for you that they're never going to let go of. So, when you want to criticize someone, let them know, hey, let's hop on a call later today at 3, boom, or set it up for us, or I'll set it up, whatever. Hop on that call, turn your webcams on. If you can't, that's also fine. But then just and don't just criticize, right? I'm sure as a CEO or as a boss, whatever, you can't just criticize. You got to realize maybe it wasn't even their fault. Maybe it was your fault. So you have to realize that first. If it is their fault, get to why that happened and really understand why. Direct criticism to employees, only some can take it. Like if you're like, dude, you can't fucking do that. Like you cannot do that with every employee. Only the ones that are like, I don't even know how to describe them, but most employees, you have to be around the bush.
Yeah. Yeah. And dude, that's actually a great point. Like I've noticed with our Filipinos, like the culture there is so respectful, right? They give respect and they want to receive respect. So when you are going to deliver some bad news or some unfortunate news, being constructive and respectful and mindful of how it lands is, I think, really important. So I think that's a great one to end it on. I know at the beginning of the call, 100%. You mentioned your handle. Do you mind throwing it out there one more time, your Twitter handle, and I'll drop it in the link after.
Yeah, at the Ty Frankel, TheTyFrankel.
Cool. Ty, man. Thank you so much for the value. Really appreciate you being here, brother.
Chase, I appreciate you, man. Take care, my guy.
Cheers.